I'm Zach Starr, that's Gavin Tony, and this is Phillies Postgame Live. Good evening to all of our viewers out there, and welcome back to another More Than Phillies Sports Network production. It's great to be here with all of you today. Zach Starr, joined alongside by Gavin Tony. We have an exciting show for all of you today. As of right now, the Philadelphia Phillies currently lead by a score of 8-2 over the New York Mets. A dominant performance at the plate today. Pitching was not the best, but of course, clutch. That would be the best word to describe this team so far this season. If the Phillies are able to hold on to this lead there in the bottom of the eighth, now we'll continue to update all of you as we also have it streaming here live. But if they win this game, Gavin, they're going to be in first place in the NL East. They'll continue to be there at 5-1. The rest of the teams, the Mets will fall to 1-2, Nationals 1-2. The Braves winning on their back-to-backs, both of them today at 2-4. Marlins, of course, already starting to be irrelevant this year. But look, this has been a very interesting start to the year. Pitching was dominant in the first three games. Pitching was dominant in the fourth game last night. The Phillies just put out there a lot of guys who really aren't going to be out there on a day-to-day basis today. Loaded up the starters again, and the offense heated up so much. Gavin, I'll turn it out to you. What are your thoughts so far, first 5 games for the Phillies this year?
The first 5 games of the Phillies it's like a stock, Zach. You want to buy into it, then the next day you're not sure. You feel like you put $50 into them, you're going to lose all $50, and the next day you feel like you'll put $100 in and get $100 back. It's like, I don't know. Stock markets ain't my thing, but Zach, that's how I feel about the Phillies. Listen, game 1 was pretty low. Zach, Aaron Nola goes 6 2/3 and gives up a home run to Pablo Sandoval, but Zach, I give him a win for that. He was pretty dominant for the majority of that whole entire game. The next game, Zach Wheeler, he was wheeling and dealing both offensively and pitching. Zach, he moved 2 and 3. He's 2 for 3, moving base runners and scoring, and striking out 10 fans. All right, Zach. Game 3, you go for the sweep, you win. You get the biggest, arguably one of my biggest games I had to consider the Phillies was. You get the biggest win versus Jacob deGrom, a healthy and ready to go Jacob deGrom. And then last night you lose. That's okay. It's like you're not going to win. Well, I didn't expect the Phillies to go 160-0 or 100 year. But here's the one thing. If the pitching can stay consistent, better than it was last year, and the bats that showed up last year, form with this great pitching, this could be a dangerous year for the Philadelphia Phillies. And I'm talking playoffs, Zach. That's something you would never thought I would ever say about the Phillies. It's playoffs. Now, today, the bats were working, all right? In the first 2 games, they only scored 2 runs. The first game, 2 runs, 3 runs, and so on and so forth. Zach, they exploded for 8 as of right now. As we're sitting here right now, no runs that we know scored yet, but they're sitting there with 8 runs. The Phillies need to average about 5 to 6 runs a game just to give this bullpen a chance. And that's a lot due to the fact that starting pitchers and other teams' bullpens are pretty good, especially in this division alone. They could do it. You got the best catcher in baseball, Zach. You got a former NL MVP. And when Rhys Hoskins swings the bat, it actually works, Zach. Bottom of the first inning. He struck first for the whole entire game. Phillies 1-0 because of Rhys Hoskins. And then Alec Bowman's going to come into a shell, and then you're going to get your home runs from Didi and others. But it relies on the offense this year and the bullpen.
It needs to be consistent. The offense last year was good enough to make the playoffs. And again, it was only 60 games. Pump the brakes for a minute. Again, I'm the one out here that's very optimistic about the Phillies because I figured if the bullpen is just anything better, they should be an above 500 team. And if they're able to click on offense a little better, that's enough right there, in my opinion. Here's what matters. Fifth day pitcher, the game was ugly yesterday. Let's call it as it is. It reminded us of last year. And it made me think, the dead of the summer, when no one's paying attention, this team stinks. They went on a 16-17 game losing streak 2 years ago that took them out of the first place and ultimately took them out of playoff contention. I'm not going to say right now they're World Series contenders. Nobody's saying that. NLCS, good luck. We'll talk in a few years. But playoffs, I thought so. I think so just as much now. I'm not buying any more stock than before the season. The Phillies are currently living up to my expectations right now, and that's only good enough for maybe a wild card, maybe an NLDS appearance. I hope they continue to improve. There's a few things that need to be figured out. If Alec Bohm becomes a 300 hitter and can get a home run every 6 or 7 games, I'll be happy. I'll be beyond thrilled with that. Again, the depth is going to be very questionable as we get later into the season, especially at the pitching after 3 or 4 games. And then, of course, the other question, Andrew McCutcheon's getting up there in age. What's it going to affect? Gene Segura is definitely a question mark. Didi's here for 2 more years. There's a lot of question marks still. And until those are answered, I can't truly tell you what this team can do, but they're currently at where I expect them to be, which is what I like to see.
It took me to say something half positive for you to finally realize that this team stinks.
I think they're at my expectation. They're at where I expect them to be. I expected them to start hot.
You called it right. In middle of the summer when no one's watching, they stink. Zach, magically, this is what happens every year, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. The Phillies get to a fantastic start. They go undefeated. They're the hottest team in baseball. They can't be stopped. They can't be beat. All right? What is this? April. Okay, then late April, May, then June. June, you find ourselves third in the division, and then sometime in August or July, they're second to last.
But they will be different this year. I'm telling you that right now. Better coaching, talent is more mature. They're growing as a team, and they have the pitching that they need to. I'm happy with where they are right now. If they're not blowing my expectations out of the water, if they were, then maybe I'd be singing a different tune. We know what's going to happen in the summer into autumn, but I think this team will hold together this year, and I think they will get a playoff spot. They're playing exactly how I expect them to.
Zach, if the Phillies want me to act like Bitcoin and put all my money into them, you have to play baseball in the summer. They don't play baseball
when it matters.
When it matters the most. When the temperature rises and the ball flies a little bit more, you gotta play there. That's when you have to play. And please, by every means, Aaron Nola, please, just have a better year. That's all I ask for. I don't ask anything else. Zach, I just want to have a good year.
Last year. That's all you need is an above average year from him. I think the pandemic was rough. The team last year was different than the year before, but I think with the pandemic and everything going on there, I certainly think that it's a different situation. With that being said, you combine that with the new coaching and everything. We expected a better year last year, but give them a year to mesh. And this year, now they'll go out there and they'll show who they truly are. And Roman Quinn just went down looking unfortunate for them. 2 outs in the bottom of the 8th. But with that being said, this is a team that needs to find its identity. I can't tell you what it is right now. Their first 4 wins were pretty consistent. Today's a little different. Pitching has been the dominance. They need to find their identity a little bit more. 10, 20 games from now, I'll tell you where I expect them to be. As of right now, my stance on them hasn't changed. I expect them to be a low playoff team, wildcard team. My
question for you is Joe Girardi going to be the manager moving forward after this year? Do you see a 5-year extension? Do you see a 3? Is this the – I mean, Joe Girardi deserves something. You just don't let managers like him just walk freely after 2 years.
It's going to be interesting. I think it is going to be an extension, but the team has to not collapse in September. I don't know what that is, whether it's the lack of depth. The team gets out to a hot start for a couple of years. They didn't last year. Last year, the Phillies started out terrible, and then they picked it up in the middle, and then they crashed at the end. That's just something we're going to have to see this year. It's a different type of year. I can't tell you right now if we're going to extend Joe Girardi. I like him. Veteran manager. I think it's a good fit here, similar to Doc Rivers with the Sixers.
Zach, if there's one thing I noticed about, 2 of the Phillies teams is that they got experienced coaches that have some winning in them.
Championships, both of them won titles.
And coming close, Zach, say what you want about Doc Rivers and blowing 3-1 leads, but he is a champion at the end of the day. He did coach Kevin Garnett. He did coach Paul Pierce. He did coach Ray Allen. He did have Rajon Rondo. Say what you want about him, especially about last year. And Zach, Joe Girardi, I need to go over his history, his track record. I mean, come on. I mean, the brother has a whole bunch of – he has his own wall of Hall of Fame material. But it's like, in order to be great moving forward, you have to solidify keeping Joe Girardi here first. And then you have to have a front office that wants to win. Zach, we learned it from The Last Dance. Front offices win championships as well. You have to have a front office that wants to win. Zach, I can't even name one person in the front office that maybe cares about winning. And I don't know. All I can tell you is Matt Klentak didn't deserve to be here no more. That's all I know.
They went out and they got good pieces. They got good bullpen pitchers. If you ask these guys to throw one scoreless inning every 3 or 4 games, they can handle that. That's what it's going to be about this year. It's about what can you handle? What is your apex as far as what you can handle? If you put too much pressure, for example, if we bring it back to something like golf, if Bryson DeChambeau keeps missing fairways, you're putting a lot of pressure on your short game. You're putting a lot of pressure on your mid game. If you put the ball in the fairway, it takes less pressure off that. If the starters are able to get 6 quality innings, 5 quality innings, today Noel only got 4, can the bullpen occasionally come out and save the day? And then, of course, consistently, can the offense do it? I don't know enough about this team yet to tell you that, but there's no reason to believe right now they can't be a good, competent, and competitive team in this season just based off what we've seen.
Zach, what made the Dodgers great last year besides their hitting? It was their bullpen. Every champion Every champion that won had a great bullpen, especially now when you look at the Nationals, you say, well, wait a minute, their bullpen wasn't dominant, but Zach, they had a three-headed monster that all their starters are rolling to the seventh inning where you only had to put 1 to 2 guys in there. All right, not the Braves. The Rays. The Rays were runner-up last year in the World Series, second right behind the Dodgers. They lost. Zach, they had a great bullpen. If they don't pull Blake Snell, I think we'll be singing a different tune. Dodgers will be champions because Blake Snell was dealing. The Braves, runner-ups in the NL, they had great bullpen. In order for you to make the playoffs, and if you want to win a championship or a World Series to be exact, bullpen matters. Zach, we say in football, defense wins championships. Eagles had a great defense the year we won. All right, the Rams had a great defense. They didn't win, but the Patriots had a better one. Defense wins championships in football. Pitching / bullpen win championships in baseball. It doesn't matter how great you are as a hitter. It doesn't matter what you could do. It's about when it matters the most. Can your team, can your pitching staff, can your pitchers keep the ball inside the yards and limit the base paths to very few? That's what I'm going to be looking for a lot for this year is who's going to be that guy in the bullpen right now. I like Alra. I like Bradley. All right, I like Hector. Right now, I like Hector right now.
Right now, you're right.
Right now, I like him until he starts throwing at people's heads, and then I have a problem with him. But Zach, I just gave you the keys to win a chip pitching wise. Keep the base paths limited. Keep the ball inside the park, and close games when needed to. That's one side, and then obviously the offense has to come back you up. But there it is. That if you want to win a championship, you have to do that. There's some other things, but those are the major keys right there.
No, for sure. I agree with you on that. Andrew McCutchen had a triple. Rhys Hoskins popped up end of the bottom of the eighth. How about Rhys Hoskins, though, today? He is my player of the game. 2 doubles, a home run, went 3 for 5 at the plate. Gavin, Rhys Hoskins' identity has shifted, I'd say. He went from being this power hitter, this exciting up-and-coming prospect, really struggled the last 2 years. This year he's come out not as a power hitter, but as a contact hitter, getting a lot of doubles, a lot of singles, being clutch in some different moments, got a couple RBIs for the team so far this year. Can Rhys Hoskins be a part of this team, even if he's not the home run hitter we thought he once was?
Zach, you know how I feel about Rhys Hoskins. If he just swings the bat and doesn't strike out, that's all I care about. Move runners, fine. Want to get walks, fine. Swing the bat and make sure you're being productive. Zach, they put him at
he's confidence. I mean, confidence is a big thing for him. I think it was shot the last 2 years. But he's hitting line drives. This team is scoring on line drives right now. They're not scoring on the long ball. Today's their first multi-home run game.
I mean, Zach, anything for Rhys Hoskins will work. Okay, anything with swing ball, but I would not accept watching and striking out. I would not accept that. Swing, you're
having those issues right now.
But if you want to talk about going back to your original question, contact hitting, I like that. Zach, you don't need a long ball to win. Zach, in playoff baseball, and maybe not as much last year because you saw a lot of home runs, but it's a lot of contact. It's a lot of moving. Look at the Astros. That's why they won, regardless of the trash cans and everything else that they brought with them. But that's what makes it hard for the Yankees. They don't have a contact hitter. Everybody in Aaron Judge's lineup is power hitters, and in the playoffs, you're not going to be able to do that. You need a contact guy. You need your guy that's going to be able to move base runners. If Rhys Hoskins to turn into that guy and hit a home run, let's say in 10 games, if he hits a home run in 2 games out of the 10, I'm fine with that as long as he's being productive. Contact, if that wants to be a new thing, fine. Confidence and just keep moving, keep playing your game.
Without a doubt, I think another player right now who is very much under the radar and has not yet done anything of significant note for this team quite yet is Bryce Harper, the $330 man. We know how he works. He tends to start out a little bit colder, is able to get up. Just some of his stats right now. He's gotten on base a couple of times. He does have 2 hits today, 2 for 4. He's not really one who really gets into a slump. He usually just goes from hitting a lot of home runs to just being average. But he has not yet this year had that exciting start. He is batting .263 as of right now so far this year. That's a good spot for him. It's a tick below his average. But Bryce Harper so far this year, Gavin, he has not needed to put this team on his back. But sometimes he might need to, and he's going to have to be able to show he can be that guy when he gets to the plate in clutch situations that they can go out there and they can produce.
I mean, Zach, he's 2 for 4 today with 2 runs scored. That means the 2 times he's been on base, he has scored. Zach, I don't have a problem with that. You don't have to be the Superman, the hero, but you are. Remember, Zach, you are MVP. You are one of the highest paid. Well, not anymore, but you were one of the highest paid players in baseball. And I would like to see the reason why. I mean, Zach, we saw a little bit. We saw what he can do financially, which is selling out packed stadiums. But now we gotta see the field play. I'm not gonna question his fielding, Zach. I think it has improved ever since he's been here. But we gotta
Yeah,
see him.
defense has been good for sure.
It's been phenomenal. Zach, last year, I'll give Bryce Harper like last year was a little bit of a down year. All right, he battled with a little bit of back problems early or late last year and kind of never really got going in a 60-game season. That's the only person I dislike to. Zach, you're right. Bryce Harper will have to step up at moments and times. I like his aggressiveness sometimes on the base pass and sometimes I don't. I wish he could pick and choose when to be aggressive and when not to. But Zach, I'm gonna go on the limb and say we may and forgive me if I'm wrong. Please forgive me. He could get NL MVP this year. He
Certainly to get himself in the running with his nameplate, but I think he does have a lot more to do at the plate in order to do that.
Of
course, some other players around the league high paid. Mike Trout's definitely. Angels are off to an interesting start this year. Also talking about Fernando Tatis, who has suffered a partially torn labrum, not as bad as they thought. 10 days to maybe a little bit more on the IL. Unfortunately for the Padres, they're able to keep their star beyond that time. Of course, some other games around the MLB today. Atlanta Braves able to begin starting to look like themselves. They beat the Washington Nationals. Remember, the Nationals were not good last year. People call the NL East the best division in baseball. You have the Braves, who are going to get hot and be a good team. You have the Mets, who apparently are going to be good this year. They will be good. Let's be honest here. They called, unfortunately, a really bad. They made a really good defensive play. Hector Neris able to get the out at first. 2 outs, bottom of the ninth, top of the ninth. But with that said, New York Mets will be good this year, and the Braves will be good. Those are the only 2 teams we know will be good. The Nationals were not good last year. How do we know they'll be good this year? We don't. So that's going to be a team to keep an eye on. Them, the Phillies, we're going to have to keep an eye on to see. The Marlins could get hot and cold, but over 162 games, I find it unlikely. Again, as the standings look in the division currently, Phillies at 4-1, Mets 1-1, Nationals 1-2, Braves 2-4, and Marlins 1-5. Around the league, of course, the Los Angeles Dodgers, no surprise, they're kind of the favorite in the National League. But other than that, not much shocking except for the Astros in the AL West continue to hold their own. But Gavin, other than that, are you confident the Nationals can return to how they were 2 years ago this year?
No, and here's why. Excuse me. You were riding off a phenomenal year. And now remember that, Zach. That year didn't start as great. Zach, they were bombing the division and they slowly climbed when the Phillies were on their way down and the Braves were somewhat cooling off. They took over the
They were the wild card team that year.
They were the wild card team and they started off with Milwaukee. But Zach, before we get there, remember who was on that team? Anthony Rendon, the guy that you would look at and say, well, whatever, and he would come out and strike. He would get you the clutch double needed. He would get you a home run when needed. Zach, he's gone now. And Steven Strasburg played one of his best careers that year. Him and Max Scherzer going back and forth. And then you added Patrick Corbin, who, by the way, got signed there. And he had something to prove. He wanted to show people that he deserved to be there. Juan Soto was also played out of his mind. He was also young. Zach, let's fast forward to last year. The Nats start with a COVID outbreak for Juan Soto. Steven Strasburg goes out with an injury and ultimately keep on for the rest of the year. Max Scherzer could never get it going. Your bullpen wasn't the same. You don't have Anthony Rendon. And Zach, they were just a team dunking around to see if they can catch a win here and there. I mean, you couldn't make this up. And when Scherzer was in there, he wasn't being dominant. Zach, as we saw him yesterday, he took yard for the first pitch of the game. If you're Phillies fan, you love to see that. But Zach, if you are trying to think about how the Nationals are going to be competitive again, they could do it, but I don't believe it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think definitely. I was just looking here. The Philadelphia Phillies have officially won the game. They have defeated the New York Mets. They will win the series, now rising to 5-1 on the year. With that being said, Gavin, before we do transition over and cover some basketball briefly before we wrap up today, simple question for you. This series, Phillies 5-1, really strong start. They're able to win back-to-back series. On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you about the Phillies right now? I know we touched on this, but after all said and done, Phillies have now officially won. How excited are you for this team so far?
Zach, they're looking good, but Zach, that's what they want us to do. They want you to get excited. Zach, it's a stock, right? You told me about this. Buy stock in this, right? all right, this company, something good's gonna happen to it. You put all your money into it. It looks good from the start. You put it back in again. You win again. And then when it comes a month later, you check your stock market and you lose all your money. Zach, I'm a little bit excited, but here's the thing. I'm gonna be realistic. I don't want to get a little overexcited because the Phillies, like we said, Zach, they don't play baseball when it starts to get hot. So I don't play baseball in June, July, and early August, and then by that time it's too late. So I don't know. I will say these last 6 games, they've been pretty impressive to watch. I just say that.
I hope so. I got the new hat that Gavin and I, of course, got a few weeks back. I'm excited for this team. I saw their potential before the season. Very early on, it's a long, long season. With that being said, everybody, thank you for watching us for Phillies Postgame Live. Coming up after this, Brooklyn Nets hosting the New Orleans Pelicans. Kevin Durant is back, but off the bench. What do we expect out of the first place team in the Eastern Conference? Stay tuned.
We are now offering a new product on our Teespring. Wear a mask in public. We are now supporting a custom designed mask with our logo on it. Purchase it today, and 10% goes to a foundation of our viewers' choice. It offers a full nose and mouth coverage, single-sided print, includes 2 2-inch elastic ear loops, non-medical grade product, and finally, $1 from every mask sale is donated to a nonprofit to feed children in need. Enjoy today's episode.
Welcome back here on the More Than Philly Sports Network. We just covered some Phillies postgame live. We were just a few minutes away from tip-off here in Brooklyn, or not here, more in Brooklyn, but we're here in Philadelphia, outside of Philadelphia. But with that being said, tonight, of course, Sixers last night taking care of business against the Celtics. Pretty easy game for them to take care of. Joel Embiid going to make some noise as he returns to the MVP conversation. We will continue to have the Sixers discussion here later in the week as they don't play again until Friday. But with that being said, here just a few minutes. Brooklyn Nets, New Orleans Pelicans. Katie coming off the bench, but expected to play tonight, has been in hot water the last week or two. We'll touch on that a little bit later. We'll cover more of the basketball side today. Gavin, Brooklyn Nets have continued to play really well. Unfortunately, James Harden out for at least 10 days with a hamstring injury. 1 week from tonight, they will be in Philly against the Sixers. James Harden will most likely not be playing in that game, but Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are expected to. Kyrie Irving has been on a tear lately. Durant coming off the bench tonight. This team's getting better. They're getting scarier by the minute.
The best player in basketball is back, Zach. Let that sink in for a second. Let's not say no. Let's just let that sink in. And the reason why I say that is because he was averaging 30 before he went out. Zach, we talk about how much Kevin Durant means to this team. A loaded team, I get that. But Zach, Kevin Durant, when Kyrie Irving took his hiatus, his mental hiatus, which I understand, trust me, Kevin Durant was by himself and he was winning games. Zach, he wasn't losing these games. Kevin Durant and James Harden when James Harden went there, Kevin Durant and James Harden, they were able to put on a little bit of show. Then at one point the trio was there, and then Kevin Durant goes down with his calf, hamstring, and something with his leg. I don't know anymore, Zach. But here's the deal. The reason why Kevin Durant's coming off the bench tonight is when you invest so much money into a person, and you saw what the Achilles did. You saw what happened to him to the Warriors, Zach. They sew his strained calf. He comes back, then he tears his Achilles. The Warriors ultimately go on to lose the finals. Kevin Durant misses all of last year, including the bubble, comes back this year and goes on a tear. Basically, Zach, you ever heard the song by Jay-Z, Public Service Announcement? He said, allow me to reintroduce myself. That's Kevin Durant right there for you. That's Kevin Durant.
Joining a team of multiple All-Stars, but yes, continue.
Okay, but before that, it's like you can't throw that into space. You cannot throw that into space. Okay, so how about throw that in LeBron's face?
He reintroduced himself going back to Cleveland with his home team.
Chris Bosh, right?
Well, no, that's why he was reintroducing himself. He went back to Cleveland.
Kyrie Irving was there. Kevin Love came. I don't understand how he reintroduced himself.
He came afterwards, but
no, he brought them with him. But anyway,
the amount of talent on the Nets is more than the Cavs ever had. The Heat we can debate, but I think that this Nets team is a lot more talented than any of those Cavs teams ever were.
Fine, have it your way with that one. But Zach, you can't debate about. We can debate about the Heat because the Heat. Remember, Dwayne Wade was a champion. And Chris Bosh was no slouch, and he has some nice pieces going on. Having said that, Zach, I'm excited for Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's return. I think he has 26 tonight.
26, and yes, correction. He is actually in the starting lineup, or maybe not. He is not. He is listed as a starter on Google here, but Bruce Brown Jr. getting the start. Kevin Durant yet to get on the floor. Current score all tied up at 8. between the Pelicans and the Brooklyn Nets. Pelicans this year, another team that's kind of stuck in the middle where you can't tell if they're going to be good next year or ready to tank. Again, they just got the first overall pick last year. But as we take a look at the standings in the Western Conference, the Pelicans currently sit at 11. They are 4 games out of the 8th seed, game and a half out of the play-in. What's went wrong for the New Orleans Pelicans this year, Gavin?
It was a slow start they had, Zach, and I'm going to be honest, it's been Zion versus all. I mean, Brandon Ingram has not really been helping him that much. You got Lonzo Ball, who shoot when he wants to. I don't know. Zach, he had a career high in 3 points, 8 the other night. I like the addition of Steven Adams they had there, but Zach, it's been a slow start. But they've been competitive in a lot of games. You just have to have another score. Brandon Ingram has to turn it up like he did last year when we were talking about Brandon Ingram possibly being most improved player or whatever. We were having conversations off the show about how the Lakers should have kept Brandon Ingram and gave away Kyle Kuzma. That's how we need that Brandon Ingram to show. We need that 2020 Brandon Ingram to show back. Zach, they're just a team that's caught in the middle of the pack, and I honestly don't see them turning up at any point. I see them staying at the middle of the pack.
Unfortunate for them. I mean, a guy who could have been a great addition, Chris Paul, they could have sought in the offseason. Unfortunately, they decided to commit to Lonzo Ball. I don't think he's the answer. Good player, good complementary player, good defender on the perimeter, but just not enough for a guy like Zion, not enough to really put a team on their back and really lead them the way they need to, similar to the team that we'll be playing later tonight, which we'll cover now. The Phoenix Suns and the Utah Jazz playing immediately following the Brooklyn Nets and New Orleans Pelicans game. Utah Jazz 2.5 games up at 38-12, and then the Phoenix Suns 2.5 back at 35-14. All they really did is add Jay Crowder and Chris Paul. That helped that team with defense. It helped them with leadership. Phenomenal coach of the year conversation. Both guys tonight, Quinn Snyder and Monty Williams, both in the coach of the year conversation for sure. Gavin, what do you like about Phoenix? What do you like about Utah?
Well, Zach, real quick before I get into that, I just want to say you're missing another key ingredient. It's the confidence and the disrespect felt by Devin Booker. Zach, he's been in the league for a little while now. Not a lot of people rave about Devin Booker. Zach, just 2 years ago, they were talking about trading away Devin Booker, and all of a sudden, Devin Booker's this superstar. Everybody wants to put respect on his name. Everybody wants to know who he is now. Let's not act like everybody's a fan now. Let's be honest, Zach. Devin Booker, no one was talking about him. He goes on the bubble. He goes 8-0. Monty Williams, they get Chris Paul in the trade. Guys starting to step up. Jay Crowder comes, and he really emphasizes defense. And DeAndre Ayton is playing to his potential now. They're a bad team. And I mean bad in a good way. Zach, they're not a team to be messed around with. Now, back to the original question. What do I like about both this team? I'm going to start with the Jazz. It's the ability to move the ball around. You have Mike Conley, who doesn't get enough credit. It's like he keeps the floor space and he lets Donovan Mitchell do what he has to do. He's the point guard to a guy that can work off the ball and with the ball. It's like it has to do the addition with Rudy Gobert being able to score offensively. He wasn't doing that much last year. It's like offensively, Rudy Gobert was kind of an afterthought. This year, Rudy Gobert is dunking on people and he's still bringing the same defense and intensity. And finally, it's like you got Bogdan Bogdanovic and Joe Ingles still. They're shooting the heck out of the ball. Zach, one of the best shooting teams in the league. And Jordan Clarkson decided he makes a run for Sixth Man of the Year. And Quinn Snyder, he has a system that everybody believes in. So that's what's going on with the Jazz.
Phenomenal pieces there. It's going to be a great game tonight. I'm going to try to stay up for it. I do not have an early class tomorrow, so I am going to be able to find a way to watch it. Either way, I'd be tired. You can't miss the top 2 teams in the West, neither one being from LA. How about that? But in all seriousness, Gavin, tonight, Phoenix Suns, Utah Jazz, I'm going to roll with the Suns tonight. I think they're going to play a tight game, and they're going to turn some heads again, saying, hey, we are here to stay. We are not just a team that's good in the regular season.
It's the leadership of Chris Paul. Zach, I'm going to roll with you with the Suns. Chris Paul is one of the best leaders in the NBA, maybe not the best leader. I think they get the job done. I think Devin Booker goes for 40 tonight.
Let's see. It's been a perfect combo all year. We'll continue to see how they roll out DeAndre Ayton as well, being healthy this year and being able to play. With that being said, we do have some breaking news regarding the hometown Philadelphia Eagles. 2 new signings today, and what does this mean for this season in Philadelphia? Stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody, here on the More Than Philly Sports Network, just covering both the Brooklyn Nets and Philadelphia Phillies, as well as previewing the later games tonight between the Phoenix Suns and the Utah Jazz. We do have some breaking news. Today, the Philadelphia Eagles re-signing Jordan Howard to a one-year deal. Again, the running back played in 2017 and 2018 for the Chicago Bears. 2019, he spent with the Philadelphia Eagles. Spent some time in 2020 with the Miami Dolphins and then was re-signed by Philly later in the season on a very cheap deal. It's an interesting move for Philadelphia. It's a cheaper alternative. Him and Miles Sanders could work very well in the backfield together. Of course, today as well, Philadelphia Eagles, not the only move for them today. They also brought in a linebacker from the Minnesota Vikings, Eric Wilson, who he's an average linebacker. He's nothing amazing to turn your heads about, but compared to what the Eagles had last year, we're already in Phillies mode. What the Eagles had last year in the linebacking core, it does appear that this will be an upgrade for them. The Eagles are not in a spending spree. They are not able to be. What they had last year will get slightly better. Of course, the quarterback play is going to be the question mark. Injuries will be a question mark, and so will coaching. With all that being said, they do have $5 million in cap space right now, $5.7 million to be specific. That's almost middle of the line, still a little bit in the bottom. Going into next year, the Philadelphia Eagles, as of right now, will have $23 million, which is also down towards the bottom. It's going to be really hard to rebuild this team, so I don't know why they wouldn't try to go out there and win with what they currently have. Why not? Spend the money now. If you can't win this year, you know next year your cap is not going to be good, so you can tank. But why not give number one, Jalen Hurts, an opportunity to go out there and succeed? I like both these moves today. It shows the Eagles aren't looking to tank. They are trying to look to actually win. I hope so, at least, because I'd rather have a fun season than not. And maybe I will buy a Jalen Hurts jersey at the end of the year if he does have a good year, because number one is pretty sick.
Zach, do me a favor. Give the Eagles a round of applause. Just real quick. Just for my entertainment. Just give me a round of applause. Oh, wait, Zach, actually don't do that because they don't deserve one. Here's why.
They do 3 first-round picks next year, though.
Okay. But, Zach, next year doesn't matter right now. If we talk about this year, can we get to this draft? Zach, you're talking about a chance at something that you desperately need for the past 2 years. You need a wide receiver for the past 2 years. Or, Zach, I keep hearing things about Kyle Pitts. Zach, I did my own research. I looked up Kyle Pitts a little bit more.
He won't be there at 12.
He won't be there at 12. None of those guys will be there at 12. If what happens is supposed to happen, maybe Devontae Smith might be there. But Zach, guess what? That's just a Sean Jackson.
Jalen Waddle is the most. Jalen Waddle, Patrick Surtain, not many other notable names at that point. They might even want to trade down even further.
So these two signings today, you know what that makes you feel like? That makes you just want to say fire Howard Roseman again. That's all I really want to say. Because Zach,
this is a good day. This is a good day for the Eagles.
A good day. A good day after what? A terrible what? 2-3 weeks ago? Zach, what is good about today? What is good about it? I mean, Zach, it was nice out. All right, I got a fresh fade today. I mean, Zach, you went to school today. I guess everybody had a good day. But if you're talking about the Eagles itself, nothing will be a good day until after the draft. And I have to see how that goes on. I mean, come on. Let's be realistic. You had a horrible year. Let's call it how it is. You had a horrible year. You tanked in the last game when your quarterback was about to go out and go win it himself. You get the 6th pick in the draft. If you won that game, you would have had 9. You get 6. I was cool with it. Giants fans weren't. Okay, whatever. Then you traded away. And guess what, Zach? You don't even have the 9th pick. You have the 12th pick. And what is it to be happy about? Any move that they make right now, this year, and we can talk about next year on another day. Any move they make here right now, it's back page news to me. It doesn't matter what they do. If the headline doesn't say the Eagles has traded up for this pick or the Eagles have fired Howard Roseman, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Okay, we're going to be bad next year. That's cool. But if the headline doesn't say Eagles fire general manager Howard Roseman, it doesn't matter to me. Any move they make right now does not matter to me unless it's that move.
I think the Eagles are trying to win. I respect that for now. Time will tell, as it always does. With that being said, everybody, thank you so much for joining us here on the More Than Philly Sports Network. The Sixers won last night. The Phillies won today. The Flyers continue to struggle. Stay tuned. We do promise to continue to cover that as well. College hoops, of course, coming to an end after Baylor taking home the win. I lost, unfortunately, by 30 points. That's it. 98% bracket percentage. Unfortunate for me. Both Gavin and myself having Baylor. Of course, you chose Gonzaga on Monday. I chose Baylor and held to it. Gonzaga, in my opinion, was a team. I'm not going to call them the better team, but they were very tired and they were very fatigued. It's just an interesting one. Davion Mitchell. Davion Mitchell. D. Mitchell, number 45. Yeah. Davion Taylor was a linebacker the Eagles busted on a couple of months back in April of last year. But Davion Mitchell, good kid. Looking forward to see where he goes. He's a good player. I like him a lot coming out of Baylor.
Three quick things, and then we'll wrap up. One, going back to that Baylor game, yes, Gonzaga, you can say tired, but let's be honest. Let's not call it tired. Baylor were a bunch of dogs. They had a bunch of go-getters. They had a bunch of people that wanted to win, that wanted to show that they were the better team. Zach, I got to give a lot of respect to the head coach. He rebuilt made that school respect in basketball. I got to give him all credit. Second, Paige Becker swept the whole entire awards with 5. First freshman to do that. She wins the Namath Wood Award, the last one she needed. And finally, Zach, Jalen Suggs, he could go first. We can get into another day. But, Zach, when it comes to the Eagles, I'm depressed now. I don't want to talk about birds no more. I really don't. I can't even think about it. I had to get those 3 positive things out there. But.
And finally, UCLA ranked 2 in the way too early top 25 men's basketball.
Where's Baylor ranked? Where's Baylor ranked?
They were 7. But they're losing a bunch of guys. They're losing a bunch of guys.
How do we just ignore what they just did?
I didn't make the rankings. I'd give them the respect and give them number 1 until proven otherwise. But Gonzaga's number 1, UCLA number 2. I didn't really pay attention after that.
I'll give UCLA number 3. Gonzaga has to be number 2, and Baylor has to be 1. It's just how.
Here's the question: where's Oral Roberts? Where are they at? They should be a top 25 team.
That's a conversation like that for another day.
They lost, unfortunately, but I was very impressed with the maturity of that team. This was a very, despite the fact it was a 1-1 in the end, it was a very good tournament, in my opinion. I enjoyed it very
20
much.
At most. That's the best I give them. 20 at most.
Possibly 15 seed. Definitely a lot to prove if they want to repeat that success. With that being said, the Masters start tomorrow. We will try to give some live coverage. I'll be watching it all day long. I'm excited. Early pick to win. I went with Bryson back in November. I don't know if I can do that again.
Pick with it.
I want to go with it. I'll say Bryson for 1, but it wouldn't shock me if Justin Thomas wins. I don't expect Jordan Spieth to win. He had a win last week. I think he's a little tired. It's a little too much. But he can turn heads for sure. Phil Mickelson possibly could turn some heads at his age. Him, Lee Westwood are the older folks that I expect to see in contention. And not only that, making the cut, definitely being under par. But the greens are running fast. This is April. It is spring. It's different than November. Greens are running fast. Conditions are going to be tough. Putting is going to be tough. I'm excited for it. It's going to be a really fun tournament. Of course, Sunday, the back nine is when the tournament really starts. But with that being said, everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. Gavin, anything you want to say?
Oh, wait a minute now, Zach. I'm Team Tiger Woods. Sadly, I can't say that right now because he's not playing. Tiger, we wish you the best. I talked to my good friend Mike. Dustin Johnson. I have to. I had to go with the champion. I had to go with the safe pick. And Zach Brooks, Koepka. That's my sleeper. Watch out for him.
He's coming off a knee surgery like 3 weeks ago. But he said today in his interview, if I didn't think I could win, I wouldn't be here. So I'm looking forward to watching him as well. The field is strong. Justin Thomas, the number 2 ranked in the world. John Rahm is there after having a kid last week. Hideki Matsuyama, Siwoo Kim, a lot of guys from all across the world. Victor Hovland. This is a strong field. It's everybody. And this is going to be a really exciting week.
Tiger will be back next year. Mark my words.
I hope so. Of course, Rory McIlroy, who said he had spent some time with Tiger last week. He was in high spirits. Up and moving around from what it sounded like from Rory. That's great to hear. Tiger will be watching, of course. We will all miss you with the Sunday Red. But with that being said, I'm excited for it. It's probably the best, in my opinion, the best week of the year in golf.
No doubt, Zach. And sadly, Sunday Red won't be in it. But Justin Thomas got my back this year. Let's go. Let's get it.
Let's see. Thank you, everybody, so much for joining us here on the More Than Philly Sports Network. Have a good one, and we'll see you all soon.
Have a good one, everybody.
If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't. In addition, hit that bell icon and set it to all to get reminded of when we go live and when we post